I'm number one. No, you're number one. We're all number one. Yeah, it's a lot of number one issues this week. Aren't there many good? I don't know. Go read them yourselves and find out, you jerkwads. Anyways, I'm kidding. I'm Taylor. It is March 22nd-ish, and Cranky Comic Book Review Show. Not a lot of books this week. Either the LCS was sold out, or I just wasn't interested, or I don't know, another one of those weeks. Lots of, like I said, lots of random number ones and a number three. I think literally, everything I got to first issue except for one of the books in the stack. So, we'll get into it. We have Order and Outrage, dun dun dun, by Jim Starlin, art by Rags Morales. Yeah, we're doing worst to best, by the way. If you've never seen the show before, this is the worst book of the week. Surprise! It's not bad. It's Jim Starlin. He's written, cosmic-y thingies with lots of snapping fingers and Thanos in love with death and, the Infinity stuff. And this is a space epic thing, and Rags Morales' art is solid. The issue with this issue is that it just jumps around too much, and there's just not enough meat to stick your teeth into. And that's kind of the problem with some of the first couple of these. The plot gets broken up, and you jump back and forth, but instead of just giving enough of a hook in one part of the plot, because there's multiple threads, and I get what Jim's doing here, it's just the threads are kind of all right, and it just didn't hold my interest. I got to the end of this issue, I was like, I don't really care. It's not especially bad. Rags' art is solid, and this is decent. Collected, it might be fine, but as a first issue, it's got some weird, kind of Kirby-esque homage, splashy-ish pages, weird panel layouts. Not weird panel layouts. There's a lot of traditional panel layouts too, and then there's some intrigue and some story, I guess, and maybe what turns into a main character. I don't know. None of it gets resolved at the end of the first issue, which I get. You don't want to necessarily resolve everything in the first issue, but none of it gets really cleared up or anything. There's hints. It's just the hints aren't that interesting. So yeah, I'm not outraged enough to read it, and it's not orderly enough for me to give a shit. Yeah, that's what you're getting. That's the level you're getting from me, people. Bad wordplay. That's all you get. The Neighbors, number one. See, this is written by Jude Ellison S. Doyle and art by Leticia Cadonici. It's a horror book. Ostensibly, kind of reminds me of Autumnal a bit. The art kind of Werther Dell'Edera, just muted color palette, horror-ish sensibilities. Then there's a couple plot threads going on. None of them really tie together. There's the idea of people move to a small town to get away from big city living. There's bigotry possibly in the small town. It's not really addressed. And then there's other stuff that probably sort of maybe happens, but you don't really know. None of it gets cleared up in the first issue. Not that it's a bad thing. You want the intrigue. You need the story to keep going, but there's just not enough interesting shit that happens. Even the sort of big twist at the end, I'm like, yeah, all right. I don't care. Don't care. Cover's cool. Probably one of my favorite covers of the week. And yeah, the art, actually, I like the art probably better than Werther Dell'Edera, the guy on Something's Killing the Children. Because the panels make more sense here. And, it's not as goofy in that regard. Still the same sort of sketchiness, kind of similar qualities. I like the color palette. Just don't give a shit about the story. And it all has to tie together. All these threads have to weave into something that's more interesting than me just doing this shit with my hands. And it really didn't. All right, next. This is the worst paper of the week. This shitty. This makes Marvel paper look good. This is Manowar, Unconquered Number One. Here's the thing. It's a light week. I probably wouldn't have gotten this otherwise. I read Valiant books way, way back in the day a little bit when they first were, maybe not first, in the 90s when everything was a thing. The Harbinger and Manowar and Magnus Robot Fighter and Solar Man of the Atom, all that shit. And that's it. I have not kept up. And so, near as I can vaguely remember, the same characters playing the Manowar in the same living-ish suit. Liam Sharp's on the art. Art's kind of great. It reminds me of like Simon Bisley meets I don't know, somebody who's not MC Escher and H.R. Geiger. Yeah, that's some person I'm trying to think of. H.R. Geiger with the sexy nakedy stuff with machines. Yeah, art's great, painted throughout. Just not much of a story here, and like it's Becky Cloonan on the writing, yeah, and Michael Conrad on the writing, and like instead of letting this art shine, I mean the art does shine a lot. I mean there's some cool stuff in here, although making that a splash page is not what I would have done, but whatever. When there is an info, it's just an info dump, and it's just I don't know, this doesn't excite me, and paired with the art, which. And while gorgeous, the art does stiffen it up a bit. I think that's sort of the nature of painted art. It just kind of makes the story a little bit stiffer. But like, yeah, on this, look at this. You just have exposition dump dialogue instead of telling a story. It's just kind of lazy storytelling. And for a first issue, it's not great. You learn, something apparently has happened to Eric Exo Manowar, and now he's hurt, and now he's got to recover. Spoilers. That's most actually the issue. I apologize. But yeah, the paper's goddamn awful. It's like tissue paper thin. I probably wreck it just by reading it. And yeah, $4. So it's not like it's a bargain book. I like the cover. This one probably could have been lower, but the art pulled it up higher. All right. And next, am I going to do it in this order? No, I'm switching them around. I'm calling it audible, people. Next, we have Doctor Strange #1. This is the return of Doctor Strange's Jim McKay writing. Pascal Ferry in the art. Pascal Ferry's art is hit or miss for me. I don't know the gender. Very thin line work. It relies a lot on the coloring and the inking to do the heavy lifting. Not that that's bad. I actually like this better. They also did Spider-Man Spider's Shadow, and I really didn't like that art as much. This is decent, and it seems to fit the Doctor Strange story. It's not the best #1. It's entertaining. It's light. It's fluffy. I guess in Strange, where Clea was the Sorceress Supreme, Doctor Strange came back. Not that that's surprising, but like this is after that, and I kind of hated his characterization of Clea because like she just had no flaws, like Jim McKay's characterization had no flaws, was angry and all powerful, and it's still here. But now there's Doctor Strange to temper it, and so this is a better dynamic. You get the pairing off against each other. And when there are splash pages, they're actually not bad. They're like I like the color palette. Is that Matt Hollingsworth on the cover? Hang on, I have to look and see. Okay, so it's Pascal Ferry in the art. Yeah, Matt Hollingsworth on the covers. Matt Hollingsworth's a great colorist. I mean, just fantastic. And the colors really do add a lot to this artwork. Without it, I think it wouldn't be as good. And this is sort of like just to break down the structure of the story of this without spoiling it. It's like. Monday, this happens. Tuesday, this happens. Wednesday, one of them there stories, the stories of the week. And by the end of the week, they're up Schitt's Creek and made an enemy. So, and then there's a backup story by Jim McKay, Andy McDonald, and Ian Herring about the founding of Wand or the refounding of Wand and Freak Out. It's all right. I'm not a fan of Marvel's idea of and DC. Actually, DC's worse at this. This is a $5 book. Throwing backstory in. A 7 or 8 page backstory. Just make one good story and sell it to me, and make that backup story another good story. Sell it to me a separate thing. I don't know. I'm just old and cranky. Cool cover though, right? That's Alex Ross. And again, it's fine. It's this one I might give one more issue, and so that's why it's hitting here in the stack. It's because it's probably going to make the cut just to see what happens next. It's not fantastic. It's not Jed McKay's finest. But it's definitely not him at his worst. He's picking up a lot of pieces that I think he made for of a problem he caused himself with Clea. So we'll see. Yeah, it's decent. Did it need to be #1? No, probably not. But that's Marvel for you. All right, next, Pop Scars #1. This one was a surprise. I didn't expect LCS to have it. The chances of getting issue #2 are pretty goddamn slim because they just don't. This is by Pat O'Malley and illustrated by Santi Gillian, whatever. Sort of a weird Hollywood revenge story. There's some twists and turns in this. It's kind of got a bright, West Coast color palette. And there's grim and gritty. There's betrayal. There's a Harvey Weinstein stand-in, basically, like a gross Hollywood producer. There's Sharknado, not really, but like there's a lot of elements here that are just kind of fun. And this one, while nothing is resolved, did have enough intrigue to make me want to read issue number 2. It's kind of solid opening hook. I'm not familiar with Pat O'Malley's writing. I've not read a lot of their stuff. I'm not familiar with Sumerian Press, really, because the LTSs I tend to go to just mostly get mainstreamish indie stuff, and this is out there for them. So I probably have to actually request this, or maybe I'll wait till the trade, because I get lazy. I do these reviews, and then I immediately forget about things and go watch YouTube videos and cry myself to sleep on my giant pillow. But yeah, I like this one. Is it amazing? No. In a great week, it might be middle of the pack, but this is not a great week. And there's also, your mileage may vary. There's a lot of info dumping here. It's blended in better, and it's a dense enough story, and there's enough weird shit that happens in this to keep my interest. And it does, while it does not tie together at the end, it does, you could see the threads coming together to form, I don't know, something. Maybe a sexy pair of underwear, or maybe a knot, or maybe a rope. I don't know what they're doing yet, because it's issue number 1. Yeah, it's enjoyable, and I dig the cover. I like the pop sensibilities, I like the name Pop Scars, and I like that the not necessarily twist in it. I mean, there's a bit of a twist in it. I like that twist. It's like you don't expect the one person to be sort of the hero of the story, and then nice preview for next week. So yeah, decent. And then my favorite book of the week, if you watch my YouTube short with my most anticipated book of the week, you'll know what this is. Probably not a surprise. But yeah, it's Jeff Lemire, Doug Mahnke, Swamp Thing Green Hell number 3. This is the last issue of Green Hell, and it's a solid wrap-up. Doug Mahnke's art has gotten sketchier as the series goes along, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. And there's a not very subtle environmental message throughout this book, but it's Swamp Thing. You're going to get that. It's Green Hell. You're going to get that. It's the end of the world because humanity's fucked it all up, and like Swamp Thing's still fighting. There, that's my big spoiler for the series. It's Black Label. It's not in continuity. You get Animal Woman in here. You get John Constantine doing Constantine, whatever. I can never remember. I like Constantine better. Let me know in the comments. Do you pronounce it Constantine or Constantine? Apple, potato, tomato. Doesn't matter. It's not going to translate well in the comments, so don't bother. But yeah, this is a good wrap-up to a fun story with some of my favorite characters. I like Swamp Thing and I like Constantine quite a bit. And like the way that they're used in this, Jeff Lemire does a great job. And then you get Doug Mahnke just kind of, throwing out some sketchy goodness here. And I don't mean sketchy in a bad way. I just mean like not super tightly done. And I'm down for it. And it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. I mean, look, that's a fun splash page. I'm biased, but I think we're all biased. People are biased. Oh, and Deadman's in here too. Yeah, lots of cool characters. Some of DC's favorite, like underused stuff. And this does resolve this thing. I mean, this has been 2 years in the comic making. Like, the first one came out in 2021, and then it just took forever to get issue number 2 out. Now 3's, I guess, back on schedule. But instead of waiting for all 3 to be done, they just, didn't. And I don't know what came up. I don't know what the delays were. This is Black Label. It's got a spot varnish in the cover. It's expensive. What is this one? $7. But of these books, I'd rather pay $7 for this than $4 for shit-ass XO Manowar on a cheap-ass paper. So your mileage may vary. I like the big format. Some people don't. It's my book of the week. That's all I got. It's a short week this week. I tried extending this out as long as I can because I need the view hours. I'm a dirty whore. I'm getting close to 1,000. One of these days, I'm going to figure out my $1,000 giveaway video. So just keep watching and keep paying attention. It'll drop when you least expect it, or when I announce it heavily, and then you'll know to expect it. But yeah, I got some cool stuff to give away. I give a couple slabs. I think a metal cover. Some other stuff. Maybe other friends will give away shit. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. That's my problem. I have stacks of like possibilities. I just haven't figured it all out yet. So, all right. Don't be a dick. You'll always be number one in my heart. It's not the quality I think I need, but it's that kind of week. See ya.